Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Hannah Dugan. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. This case primarily involves two people, Hannah Dugan and Eduardo Flores Ruiz. Hannah Dugan was born in 1959 in Wisconsin. She earned a bachelor's degree in 1981 and a law degree in 1987. After this, she was an attorney for many years. Most of her work involved helping those who were disadvantaged financially. In 2016, she was elected as a judge serving in the Milwaukee County Circuit Court. Hannah was re-elected to that position in 2022. Eduardo Flores Ruiz was born in 1994 in Mexico. He illegally crossed into the United States. On January 16, 2013, Border Patrol agents sent him back to Mexico. Despite this, Eduardo decided to return to the United States and ended up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He rented a home on West Valete Street in Milwaukee, along with at least one roommate. On March 12, 2025, there was an incident at Eduardo's home. A roommate approached him for playing loud music. Eduardo responded by allegedly striking his roommate about 30 times with a closed fist. When the roommate's girlfriend intervened, Eduardo allegedly struck her in the forehead and arm. He then allegedly shoved her into the kitchen, causing her to fall. The girlfriend's cousin was allegedly injured while trying to break up the altercation. On March 18, 2025, Eduardo was charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor battery. 10 days later, on March 28, agents working for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE, were informed that Eduardo was facing charges. They realized that he was in the United States illegally. On April 17, an immigration official issued a warrant for his arrest. Federal agents planned on taking Eduardo into custody the next day, April 18, 2025, when he was set to appear before Judge Hannah Dugan at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. His case was to be heard in courtroom 615 and was one of approximately 8 criminal cases that Hannah Dugan had that morning. The courthouse was an ideal location for the arrest because Eduardo would have to pass through security and would not have any weapons in his possession. Arresting him unarmed was safer for the agents, the public, and for Eduardo. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. According to the federal government, here is what happened on April 18, 2025, at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. It's important to note that these are only allegations. 6 agents from the Milwaukee ICE Task Force arrived at the courthouse in the morning. These agents, which were referred to as the arrest team, included a deportation officer, a Customs and Border Protection officer, 2 FBI special agents, and 2 Drug Enforcement Administration special agents. All the agents were dressed in plain clothes. I find it curious that to arrest one man, 6 agents were needed from 4 different agencies. It felt less like a coordinated operation and more like the worst planned crossover episode in television history. At about 8 a.m., 2 agents identified themselves to courthouse security and explained how they were there to make an arrest. They met with a shift sergeant who requested they make the arrest after the completion of the scheduled hearing. The 2 agents agreed to this plan and made their way to a public hallway outside courtroom 615, where the other 4 agents were already waiting. At about 8:15 a.m., the courtroom deputy opened the doors to the courtroom. Individuals with business before the court started checking in. As the agents were in the public hallway, an attorney with the public defender's office took photographs of 5 of them. Apparently, she did not notice one of the agents who was sitting off by himself, away from the group. At 8:43 a.m., the agents saw Eduardo outside of courtroom 615 talking to his attorney. He and his attorney then entered the courtroom. The attorney who photographed 5 of the agents approached Judge Hannah Dugan's clerk and said there appeared to be ICE agents in the hallway. She also told the clerk what the agents were wearing and where they were seated. The clerk approached Hannah Dugan, who became visibly upset and indicated that the situation was absurd. A prosecutor heard the judge say that she was going to call the chief judge. The judge left the bench and entered her chambers. After this, Hannah and another judge approached members of the arrest team. Hannah had a confrontational and angry demeanor. She asked the deportation officer if he was there for a court appearance. When the agent responded no, Hannah told him he would need to leave the courthouse. The agent explained how he was there to arrest someone. Hannah asked if he had a judicial warrant. The agent indicated he had an administrative warrant. The judge told him he needed a judicial warrant. The deportation officer explained how he was in a public space and had a valid immigration warrant. After asking to see the warrant, the judge demanded that the agent speak with the chief judge. She told a couple of other agents the same thing. The other judge, the one who was with Hannah when she approached the arrest team, escorted the agents to the reception area for the chief judge's office. Hannah did not recognize one of the DEA special agents as part of the arrest team, so he remained behind in the hallway. It appears as though Hannah believed she had cleared out all the agents, but she had not. At this point, the judge looked around the hallway, apparently in an effort to spot any remaining agents. She then used a private hallway to access courtroom 615. When she was back in her courtroom, Hannah scheduled Eduardo's next court date with his defense attorney without ever conducting the pretrial hearing. This seemed particularly odd considering the alleged victims were present in the courtroom waiting for the hearing, and the prosecutor was prepared to proceed. As Eduardo and the attorney walked toward the exit of the courtroom, Hannah said something like, "Wait, come with me." She escorted Eduardo and his attorney out of a door that leads to a non-public hallway, which connects to the public hallway. Essentially, this was a back door, a way to exit the courtroom without going through the main doors. This door is usually used by members of the jury and never used by defendants who are not in custody. 4 members of the arrest team, who were now in the public hallway, spotted Eduardo looking around the hallway and walking quickly toward the south elevator bank. This elevator bank was not the closest one to courtroom 615. Eduardo exited the courthouse onto 9th Street. The arrest team pursued him out of the courthouse. They approached him and identified themselves. Eduardo started running. The agents gave chase and caught him at the intersection of West State Street and 10th Street. He was arrested at 9:05 a.m. Based on the evidence that Judge Hannah Dugan interfered with Eduardo's arrest, she was arrested on April 25, 2025. Hannah was charged with obstructing a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States and concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest. She was released on her own recognizance. Hannah Dugan hired a former U.S. attorney to represent her, who said, quote, "Judge Dugan will defend herself vigorously and looks forward to being exonerated," unquote. Now moving to my analysis. The arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan has led to a massive amount of controversy. Not surprisingly, differences in opinion tend to fall along party lines. Many Republicans view the arrest as valid and necessary, proclaiming that no one is above the law. When Hannah decided to shield Eduardo from arrest, she knew her actions were illegal. Anybody acting in a similar way would have been arrested. Judges are not exempt. Many Democrats view the situation differently. They argue that Hannah's arrest is jeopardizing the independence of the judiciary. Arresting her was simply a tactic by the Trump administration to intimidate judges. They argue that Hannah did not commit any crime, or if she did, the crime was so insignificant it would not normally be prosecuted. Some have compared it to the charge of falsifying business records. Donald Trump was convicted on 34 counts of this particular offense. It's hard to escape the irony here. They are saying that Hannah Dugan's charges are just as politically motivated and illegitimate as the charges that Trump faced. What does that say about Trump's convictions? Their argument may be helpful to Hannah, but it might not bolster their overarching position that Trump is bad. At least they're being honest. This brings me to the question, is Hannah Dugan guilty of obstructing a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States and concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that she is guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Hannah Dugan became aware that ICE agents were preparing to arrest an illegal immigrant outside her courtroom in the public hallway. She confronted the agents in a state of anger. She asked for the warrant and read it. Clearly, Hannah knew it was a valid warrant. Hannah directed the agents to another area of the building, namely the reception area for the chief judge's office. After doing this, Hannah looked around to confirm all the agents were gone. But of course, she missed one. After returning to her courtroom, Hannah skipped the pretrial hearing, even though the prosecutor was ready to proceed and the alleged victims were present. Hannah directed Eduardo and his attorney to exit out of a back door, which was highly out of the ordinary. Eduardo moved quickly and used an elevator far away from the courtroom. When confronted by agents on the street, he ran away. It seems clear that his intent was to escape. Hannah's actions meant that the arrest had to take place outside the courtroom. This put everybody in more danger. Moving to the exculpatory factors, maybe Hannah allowed Eduardo to use the back door so that he would be arrested in a slightly different location away from the main courtroom doors. Like she wasn't trying to help him escape, she was just hoping to keep any potential violence away from an area where people congregate. That's pretty much it for the exculpatory factors. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Hannah Dugan is guilty? Yes, she is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion. Hannah knew exactly what she was doing. Despite my belief that she is guilty, I think the charges should be dismissed or Hannah should be offered a deferred prosecution. I don't think Hannah should end up with a criminal record for these offenses. This is a Mickey Mouse case which was designed to intimidate Hannah and other judges. For instance, almost everyone in Hannah's position would be allowed to turn themselves in, yet she was arrested right outside the courthouse in a public display. This was all just for show. Prosecuting Hannah Dugan under these circumstances is not fair. There is a precedent for dismissing the charges. In 2018, the Justice Department charged a judge in Massachusetts with helping an illegal immigrant escape from a courthouse. 4 years later, the charges were dismissed under an agreement where the judge reported herself to the Judicial Discipline Commission for Massachusetts. I think that would be an acceptable outcome in the case of Hannah Dugan. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Judge Hannah Dugan spent her career helping people who did not have a lot of money. She probably viewed herself as a champion of the little guy. Also, I would not be surprised if she strongly disliked Donald Trump, or at least his policies. When she found out that ICE agents were in the courthouse, Hannah decided she was going to make a statement. Her message was that violating immigration law was not really a crime. Hannah placed herself above the law because she disagreed with the law. She decided to engage in a little political theater, but did not anticipate the Trump administration doing the same thing. Ultimately, the administration had the power to arrest her, and she had no power over them at all. Donald Trump has been very critical of judges, so it's not surprising that his administration eagerly seized the opportunity to intimidate them. One lesson learned in this case is that citizens do not get to pick and choose which laws they follow. Eduardo was in the country illegally, and he needed to be deported. Hannah had no right to interfere in that process. The second lesson in this case is that the Trump administration should not intimidate judges in any way, including by using federal agents. In this particular case, neither Hannah nor the Trump administration made a good decision. Neither party should be proud of their behavior. Those are my thoughts in the case of Hannah Dugan. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.